Brian Sandberg is the latest home run hitter on the Chicago Cubs, and I know you've been asked this question before, and I already know the answer, but for our youngsters out there, are you going for home runs when you go up there?
No, not at all. That's not really really the style of my hitting. When I hit home runs, it's times where I just get my pitch to hit, and I have a good swing at it, and get the ball up. And yesterday was one of those days where the wind's blowing out a little bit, and I just happened to hit a couple balls good up in the air, and they're home runs here at Wrigley.
Hit the ball where it's pitched, right?
That's what I try and do.
Yeah.
If the pitch is away from me, then I have more success hitting it the other way or up the middle. And when I do that, then I'm staying within myself, and I hit the way that I'm supposed to hit, and then I'm successful.
You were with the Chicago Cubs and the Dodgers and so on. Matter of fact, you were with the Brooklyn Dodgers, were you not?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
My first year in the major leagues was in 1954 with the Brooklyn Dodgers.
Yeah. How'd you like playing in Brooklyn?
Brooklyn, to me, there's three parks, to me, that always stick out in my mind. Ebbets Field in Brooklyn.
Which is gone now.
That's right. Fenway Park in Boston and Wrigley Field. They've always been three of my most favorite ballparks, and Fenway and Wrigley Field still my two favorite parks.
Yeah, but we're doing a special on the Chicago White Sox, but it certainly wouldn't be complete without a member of the opposition, and of course, Kansas City Royals star third baseman is George Brett. George, did you bring
tell me this for the White Sox. See you later.
Did you bring your bat with you, George?
I brought a bat. This isn't my bat. My bat's buried in the bat case, and the bat boy's still trying to find it.
Okay, the reason I asked him, I was going to take a look at that bat, and I was going to check the pine tar.
Thank you. You're still feeling all right out there? I heard you say, woo!
Welcome to our show. It's called
Sports,
Entertainment, and
People and Places.
And we are
Rich Nye,
Jim Kapsa,
and Bobby Considine.
Now, through the magic of television, we go from 3 men on the set to 4. And we've got 3 baseball gloves because one of us forgot our glove at home, but we've got 3 pitchers here. The new guy on the set is Buzz Capra. Buzz, thanks for coming out today. Really appreciate it. Buzz Capra is our newest associate, and he was a major league pitcher for, 5, 6, or 7 years. But I do remember 1974 when Buzz had the lowest earned run average in the National League. I think it was 2.28. You'll have to check me on that one, Buzz. Pretty close to that, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. And he was with the Atlanta Braves at that time, and he's got a couple of nice stories about when he was in the bullpen and almost caught Hank Aaron's record-breaking home run. But last show, for you regular viewers out there, we were talking about we may not see any baseball again this year because the players were locked out by the owners for 99 days. And 3 days after we taped that show, they got together and signed the agreement. The new collective bargaining agreement was approved by the owners and the players, and baseball is back. So that's what we're talking about. The first week of baseball, when spring training started, there was a flurry of telephone calls. All kinds of people were being signed, traded, whatnot. And today we're going to talk a little bit about that. But first of all, I want to talk to Bob. You don't mind, and Rich, I know you don't mind. Let's get Buzz Capra involved in the conversation. I know you gave me some photos that you want to show the people, but I told the folks out there that you were in the bullpen when Hank Aaron hit that not grand slam, but the record-breaking home run to break Babe Ruth's record. Tell us that story.
Well, it was an electrifying night. The place was, packed. And we're all out in the bullpen, and as we all know, Hank hits most of his home runs to left field. And our bullpen was over like a storm fence, and where the bullpen area was where we threw it. And then about 25 feet back of that was about a 25-foot high wall. And we all decided in the bullpen, we said we're going to have our own areas to stand in. So we were lined up along that fence. And I was next to Tom House. And people were starting to discard stuff from the stands. There was some ice.
This is in Atlanta, Fulton County Stadium.
Exactly, yeah. And it's electrifying at the time, and games getting ready to start. So I said, Tommy, switch places with me. After about going into the first inning, and he switched with me where I was standing. We were supposed to respect each guy's territory.
Yeah.
In other words, if it's there, it's his.
Yeah.
So, and as God's my witness, on my father's grave, that about the second pitch after we did that, Hank hits one of them screaming line drives, and it's heading right in that area. So if you ever watch that on ESPN, you see guys running out there. I'm running there, and I get behind Tom House. Now, if I really wanted to, I could have jumped over his back and got that ball, but I didn't.
But you would have been in
I was
coaching.
right behind him when he caught it, but I probably would have got it. So he gets the ball, runs it in. They stop the game, blah blah blah. He gets a Magnavox stereo free, so I would have got that. That's what I would have got. But and again, it was really great. And like I said, it happened the way it did, and that's it. I was just glad to be part of it. And I got to pitch in that ball game also, and pitched the last 3 innings, and got the save. So that was quite a thrill for me. I also, maybe some people don't know, I pitched in Cincinnati the day he tied it.
Oh, you did, huh?
And I got a loss in the bullpen that day. When he broke it into Atlanta, I got a save that night for I think Ron Reed started the game. So I kind of backdoored my way into Cooperstown because that scorecard from Eddie Matthews is in Cooperstown for that game, and you'll see my name there. So I found a way to sneak in there.
So Eddie Matthews was a manager.
Eddie Matthews was our manager.
Yeah. Well, he was a good friend of my good friend Johnny Logan, and they're both gone now. So I want to show the folks out there in the viewing audience a picture in the Sun-Times. This is page 1, my page 1, which is the first page of the back of the newspaper, the sports section. And this is the new star for the Chicago Cubs. His name is Suzuki, and I haven't gotten the pronunciation of his first name. I think it's Seiya. So the headline is, Seiya isn't so. It's so. Seiya, it's so. That's what it is. He's getting $85 million, sports fans, for 5 years for the Cubs, and he's going to play right field. So let's see what happens. The Cubs did have a player from Japan a few years ago, Kosuke Fukudomi. Remember him, Bob?
I do, absolutely.
Rich, I think you remember him.
Sure.
He lasted a couple of years, and I don't know where he is now. But this is, Suzuki is supposed to be the #1 star in Japan. Rich, have you heard of this guy at all?
Never.
Never. How about you, Bob?
I have not. It's going to be real interesting to see the transition from playing Japanese baseball to American baseball, and maybe these guys can comment on what would be the big difference coming over and how would they fit in to American baseball.
What do you think, Buzz?
First of all, I ditto, Rich.
Never heard of the guy,
Never
right?
heard of the guy, so I don't know anything.
Well, you told me before we started taping that you're actually, part of what you're doing these days is coaching youngsters, right?
Correct.
Between the ages of, 10 and 14
Well, a lot
or
of them
15?
now, most of them I'm getting there. It's in St. Charles. It's called Elite Sports Training. I'll put a plug in.
Yeah, why not?
It's in St. Charles on Randall Road. And primarily they're around between ages 9 to about 13.
Uh-huh.
Now, I'll take anybody in there. I've had older guys come in there also.
So
but,
you teach them the right grips on
You
these
try to
things, right?
teach them. I start from scratch. I start with the grip. Bad grip, you're going to make bad throws. You make
Time
bad
out.
throws, no
Take your
strikes.
ball out of your glove, and I'm going to give Rich Nye a ball. And you brought your ball here, Bob.
I did.
And like I said, folks out there in the viewing audience, these 3 guys are all pitchers. Rich Nye pitched for the Cubs. We didn't go over Buzz's entire record, but as long as I'm thinking about it, let's go over Buzz's entire record. He pitched in 1971, 72, 73, and 74 for Atlanta. Oh, actually 75 and 76 as well, right?
Correct.
And then you pitched for the New York Mets for a while. That was before you went to Atlanta, right? 71, 72. Anyway.
76, I was out a little while because I had that surgery.
You had surgery in 76.
Back in 77 came
But
back.
anyway, I gave you the baseballs here because you're Rich pitched for the Cubs most of the time, and I would like you to show us first what your grip is for your fastball and your curveball, and then we'll see what Rich's grip is.
Okay. I try to teach
Just hold it up over here.
the
so
kids, what they call the basic, what they call a 4-seam, cross-seam grip. And it gives you usually the truest flight of the ball, and you get your best spin and get some backspin and get power. So the way it is, they call it the 4-seam, cross-seam for this reason. If you rotate a baseball, you see 1, 2, 3, 4 seams. And this here I call it 2 pieces of leather, and I call it the horseshoe. And this looks kind of like a horseshoe. I could show it's like a bat going that way. And if you turn the ball again, it's another one. So all I try to teach them is to get the small knuckles on the straight part of the seam. And this is where you get the straightest part of the seam here, not here. Now, there are other grips that way, and the other important thing I try to show them is where the thumb placement is. I always believe the thumb should be underneath the pointing finger.
Yeah.
And a lot of kids come in there, they're gripping the ball like this. They have all kinds of different grips. So I try to get
Most of
them
them
to
are wrong, right?
to get a good grip. When they play catch, reach into the glove for the ball and try to get it across the seams.
Yeah.
And when you snap your wrist, it's kind of like a wave goodbye type of a, motion with your wrist. You snap down and through, and you get the ball spinning backwards. That's the way it's supposed to be. So I watch that a lot, especially with the young kids, and they're turning their wrist in funny different ways, and that causes a lot of extra strain on their elbow because they're
you
young
lead me
kids
into
and
what
they're
I was
still
just going to
developing.
ask you. When you're teaching youngsters, I hope you teach them that they shouldn't be throwing curveballs while they're still in Little League.
Well, I don't mess around with the curveball till 9, 10 years old. Now I started playing around with a curveball when I was 9 years old in the alley playing catch with guys. I learned from an older guy, and it didn't do a whole lot when I first started working on it, and then it got a little better and a little better. But I got to look at the guy. How big is he? How does he have long fingers where he can get his fingers on that ball so he can get that rotation? And you can't. And you got to be able to throw strikes with a fastball first. I don't think if you can. This is my belief, Rich. If you can't throw a fastball over the plate, you're going to have a heck of a time throwing it.
Right.
Because there's a lot of different things involved with the wrist and the release point on it.
Let's get Rich involved
Rich,
here,
go
and
ahead.
we're going to get Bob involved there
Should
too.
I put this back in the
Show your. No, I want you guys to show your grips. Keep your ears up there, and Rich, you show your fastball grip and explain it because yours is a little different, right?
Yes, I was not a power pitcher. My ball sunk. Sinking fastball was my best pitch. And I threw a two-seam fastball, so I threw with my fingers, my index finger was on the seam, the other finger was just next to it, thumb underneath the index finger, and I would release it, and as I would release it, it would be spinning, and you'd only see two seams. And this ball, when you throw it right, tends to go like that. So it was going down and away from a right-handed hitter. I started throwing that when I was a kid, and I would release it 3/4. I didn't go right over the top of my head. I went kind of 3/4, which gave it that little motion to move and sink. I did occasionally, if I wanted to hit a spot and I wanted the ball not to move, I did go to the four-seam fastball. That one goes straight, didn't go very fast. Again, I probably was in the mid-80s, maybe high 80s occasionally, but that was it.
I have to tell the folks out there that Rich was kind enough to help me out with a Little League program in Berwyn, Illinois. This is, 15 years ago at least. And we had the three youngsters who were competing. It was a friendly competition. We had them ask Rich a question or two. And I still remember when somebody, I know one kid asked you, how does it feel playing with Ernie Banks? And you told him that Ernie Banks was the greatest and so on and so forth. But another kid asked you about throwing curveballs, and I think I even inserted my thoughts about that. What did you tell that kid about throwing curveballs?
Well, for me, being a control pitcher, I said the curveball comes after you know how to control the fastball and the changeup. If you can throw strikes 9 out of 10 times with a fastball, 9 out of 10 times with a changeup, then you can start playing with a curveball. And what you need to do is you need to learn that what everyone wants to do with the curveballs, they want to induce spin on the ball, and you really don't do that. What you do is, as you release the ball, if you pull on the seam with your big finger there, and this thumb is underneath, like that, and you just are releasing the ball as it comes out, it starts to have a spin to it.
Beautiful.
And that was, so, and I said, when you're doing that, what I would do is just get 10 or 15 feet away from my partner, and I would just hold the ball like this and have my arm come in a motion, and the ball would just come out. And I want the pitcher to get some idea when he releases a ball, if he can see the spin on the ball. So watching the spin when you're throwing it gives you an idea if you're releasing it properly. If you're throwing a four seam and it looks like it's a spiral like this, obviously you're not releasing the ball properly and you're not going to get the desired effect.
I remember one other question that one of the kids asked you, and it was, what's your favorite pitch? Do you remember that?
Well, when people ask me what my favorite pitch is, it almost inevitably is strike three.
But you had a comeback after that one.
I'm sorry.
You don't remember.
I
should have brought that videotape. Yeah, you said strike three, but you said that the changeup was your favorite pitch at that time. Now you remember, right?
Yeah.
Because
because everybody's looking for you to throw fastballs, major league pitchers. And when you change speeds, it's great to strike a guy out with the changeup right down the middle.
Yeah.
Nothing on it.
Let's get Bob involved. Bob didn't play in the major leagues, but he could have, because I've seen him play. He was on my senior baseball team. Well, Rich was on one of my senior baseball teams, too. Buzz, you weren't on one of my senior baseball teams. I don't know how I missed you.
I figured out when it was time. D-O-N-E was a scouting report on me. So I said it was.
But Bob, give me your opinion on how you throw. First of all, show the fans in the viewing audience your grip for fastball and curveball.
I basically have a combination of Buzz and Rich also with the four-seam fastball. Like Buzzy said, get your thumb underneath there. And generally this would be a very good pitch to start batters off with. When you know they're not swinging, you just lay it right down the middle and strike one. And being pitchers, we know that strike one starting out is a very good thing to do. As far as the other fastball, if you want the fastball to move, you just put your fingers on, what I did anyway, worked for me, put my fingers across on the seams and put a little pressure this way or this way if I wanted the ball to move this way or this way, depending on the pressure. You guys agree with that? A little bit of pressure on the thing. And I never had a real good changeup like Rich. I, like Buzz, mostly threw fastballs and sliders, basically. Buzz, what was your best pitch, Buzz? And
probably my curve was my.
I remember batting off you. You had a great curveball.
You know, my fastball. I had a good fastball, but you know, in the shadows of Seavers and those guys, when you're throwing, you don't look. I don't know what I was. People say, how hard you throw? I don't think 72 they had guns. And I'm not sure.
No.
But I always maintain this, and with the kids. You know, the father comes, well, he's throwing 52 miles an hour. He said, don't worry so much about it. Right. And I always maintain that the hitter will tell you how hard you're throwing. Mm-hmm. If he's swinging late, and to revert back to Rich's talk about the changeup is so effective because what you do, you control the hitter's bat speed. Mm-hmm. And that's what he was, you know, they're looking for a fastball, and they're out here, and then, boy, you throw that one off. Wow, you've seen hitters many times look really sick on a changeup. Yeah. If you watch the playoffs with the guy with the Giants, I can't remember his name. He beat Houston at first. I mean, he was great. He had a great changeup. And, you know, so he controls the bat speed.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, because when you are batting, timing is everything.
That's correct.
And if you can throw the batter's timing off with pitches, like you're saying, Buzz and Rich, it's golden. It's absolutely golden.
Timing is everything in life, too, right, guys?
Absolutely, yeah. Thinking about timing in this $85 million contract, I think I started pitching in the wrong time.
Agreed, Rich.
I interviewed Brooks Robinson one time, and one of the things that he said, I asked him if he was a little bit envious of the big money that's being tossed around these days, and he said if the importance of your job dictated what you were getting paid, baseball players and entertainers would be at the bottom of the list. But they're the ones that are getting paid the most, and it's just a fact of life. And timing is everything, right? Yeah. And right now we're going to have timeout because when we get back from this little videotape you're going to see, you're going to be seeing 3 or 4 players that we interviewed in prior years on the Pro Sport Report, which was my show for 36 years. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to come back and talk a little bit more about timing and what these fellas are doing nowadays. Now, what do you think about the salaries that are being thrown around these days? I mean, are you a little bit slightly envious?
Sure. I would have loved to beg the bit, but it doesn't bother me. You know, the way I look at it is, hey, if the importance of your job dictated how much you were going to make, then the baseball player would be at the bottom of the heap. But we live in a society where entertainers and athletes are going to make more than anyone else, just a fact of life. And that's what baseball is, it's entertainment. So I don't have any problems with it. I think the owners, when I played the game, the owners ran the game, and now the players are running the game. But that's just the way it is. Everyone's making a lot of money, so I'm happy for them. I got a great pitching out of the game of baseball. I played, as I say, I played part of all of 23 years, so I couldn't be happier. I still follow the game. I enjoy it very much. So it's been great.
Well, you'd command a $150 million contract
I don't know about
if
that.
you were playing. You know, somebody asked Babe Ruth one time, I think it was when he signed his first $100,000 contract, what makes him think he deserves $100,000? The President of the United States doesn't even get. He says, I had a better year than the President.
That's right. Right.
Well, you had a better year most years than all of the ball players in Major League Baseball, and it's a real honor for us to have you on our show, and I thank you very much, and very much good luck to you in the future.
I appreciate that.
Thank you very much,
Nice being
Brooks.
with you.
Andre, what are you doing in the White Sox dugout?
It's the same thing I'm doing now, waiting to get an interview done.
Well, Andre is one of the nicest guys in the major leagues, and he's very easy to get along with from what I've heard. I haven't talked to you yet, but that's what I hear from everybody. You bounced back from what a lot of people thought was an injury that wouldn't let you come back and play the way you are right now. How'd you do it?
Well, I don't think it was an injury that wouldn't let me come back. A lot of people wrote me off because of the fact that I was 35 years old and I had a history of knee problems. But they don't know what really drives an individual or what motivates you, what your work habits are. So I don't think I had a lot to prove. It was just that I felt I had to get the work done in the off season, the necessary work to prepare myself for the following season.
Well, if you go up to the plate, you're not thinking about hitting a home run every time, though, are you?
No, not at all. I think home runs are going to come when you least expect them to. The idea that I have when I'm up at the plate is I want to pick up the pitching patterns and I want to have a quality at bat, make sure that I don't get cheated. There are going to be some times when you go up and you feel that you had a wasted at bat, but try not to have too many of those. And my thinking is, again, just go up there and see the ball, drive the ball, and not try and do too much with your body as far as overswinging.
What kind of advice do you have for youngsters out there?
Well, to mainly pay special attention to instruction and be focused upon whatever you're into, and most of all, make a situation a lot easier for yourself if you follow instruction and you set goals. It's not going to be a piece of cake day in and day out, but you got to be willing to sacrifice, dedicate yourself, and most of all, show some form of discipline.
We've got a lot of youngsters watching our show. What advice do you give to a youngster who wants to be a Major League Baseball player?
Well, just to watch and listen and participate as much as possible, to learn about the game of baseball and to enjoy it. I think the camaraderie is the most important aspect of the game.
Did you ever dream when you were playing high school ball, you were in high school in 1952, I would imagine. Didn't you play just 2 years of professional ball before coming to the Cubs?
Actually, I was a softball player.
A softball player?
We had no baseball in the high school I went to in Dallas, Texas, and I played on a church softball team for the most of my young life. And then a fellow by the name of Bill Barrett came up and asked me would I like to try playing baseball. That's when I got into baseball. But basically, I was a 16-inch softball player around Dallas, and I enjoyed that very much.
Not even the 12-inch, the big 16-inch without the gloves, huh?
Right, without the glove, and I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun.
Well, you must have had one or more people in your youth that taught you the fundamentals of playing hardball because you played some real hardball through the years. Do you attribute your success or your learning the fundamentals to any one person?
Yes, I do. A fellow named Bill Bear and another guy named Hank Thompson used to play with the New York Giants.
Good third baseman.
Hank usually come through Dallas after the season was over, and when the Major League player come into town, in those days people got excited, and he got me aside and he showed me little techniques about hitting and fielding and base running and those little things, and it stayed with me. And then after that, I moved up to Kansas City Monarchs, and a guy named Buck O'Neill helped me a lot in developing the fundamentals of the game. And then when I got to the major leagues, I worked a lot with a young man named Jackie Robinson. He helped me a lot with playing the infield, positioning. And then I played with a guy named Gene Baker. So all through my career, I was with people who understood the finer points of playing baseball, positioning, the pitchers, the catcher's sign, the wind, the sun, and playing all those things, and it helped me a great deal.
Now we've got a great honor on the Pro Sport Report. I'm very humbled to be talking with Hall of Famer Red Schoendienst. Red, thanks very much for being on our show. Appreciate it very much. Red Schoendienst, one of the greatest second basemen of all time, no doubt about it. And I have to check your figures, 19 years in the big leagues, a great portion with the St. Louis Cardinals. And of course, you were with the 57 and 58 Milwaukee Braves. My good friend Johnny Logan was your Keystone combination partner.
Right.
And Andy Pafko, another good friend of mine, was on that team too.
Right.
This is a great time for you to talk to your old buddies like that.
Well, it's great, to see and then see some of the coaches, Dungey and all of them out there. I saw Gail Sears and of course the Manning boys and Mr. Manning.
Yeah.
So this is a great show here just to see all the people that's going to be here, all the celebrities.
And of course, you're the main attraction here. You know that, right?
I don't think so.
I have to ask you, how does it feel to bat 342 for the season and come in second in the batting title race?
Well, that was pretty tough. Carl Furillo beat me out that
by
year.
2 points.
By 2
1953,
points.
yeah.
And he didn't play that last month of the season.
Oh, I knew there was a reason.
Yeah, they had him, and I come close to tying him. I don't know, and it just so happened I didn't make it. I guess it wasn't just for me to do it. That's all.
You were born in Germantown, Illinois.
Germantown, Illinois.
Where's Germantown exactly?
Well, that's just about 55 miles east of St. Louis, and in Germantown, all small communities through there. Scott Air Base, that was known for the big thing around that part of the country. And then we got in there, Clinton County. Everybody played baseball in Clinton County, St. Clair County there.
So that's how the Cardinals got a hold of you. You were too close to St. Louis, not close enough to Chicago.
Well, I had a tryout with the Cardinals at Old Sportsman's Park, and they signed me to a contract.
Yeah. Well, that's where Joe Garagiola and Yogi Berra, they went to a tryout like that too.
The same year.
Same year? Yeah.
Same year.
Before we talk about the 67-68 Cardinals, I have to go back to your playing career and you playing with Andy Pafko and Johnny Logan and Hank Aaron and Eddie Matthews and Warren Spahn and my good friend Del Crandall. What a team that 57 Braves team was, right?
Well, I've been fortunate in the game of baseball. When I first started out, I played with the Cardinals, of course, and the great Stan Musial, Enos Slaughter, the Cooper boys, and you gave Marty Marion and so many of them. And then I went to the Giants for a year, and I played with Willie Mays. And so I've been pretty fortunate. Then coming to the Braves, when I got traded to the Braves, that was a big break for me because they had an outstanding club.
It was a big break for the Braves. You made that team midway through the 57 season.
Well, the 2 years I was there, we won. So that was
great.
But we had great players. We had Henry Aaron, we had Adcock and Crandall and Spahn Burdette.
Spahn and Burdette, yeah.
Oh, we had a relief pitcher. We all in all, that was a great ball club. And mentioned Johnny Logan. Now, he was a better ball player than what people gave him credit for.
He had pretty good range at shortstop.
Oh, yes, very good. Tough, too.
He led the league in fielding, I think, 3 times.
Yeah.
But, we're talking about all these other ball players and how great of a manager you are and great of a ball player you are. You're in the Hall of Fame. What was your secret? Did you have a secret to being such an outstanding player and manager?
No, not really. I just loved the game of baseball. I played when I was a kid, and that's about, that's all you did in them days. I'm 84 years old, so I've been playing a long time.
You sure don't look it, Red.
I've had a good time doing it, and I concentrated on the game of baseball. One thing, Branch Rickey, when he signed me up, he gave me $75 a month, to send me out. And at that particular time, he said, we're going to give you the opportunity to play. And I said, Mr. Rickey, all I wanted to see if I can play. If I can't make the big leagues in 3 years, I'll go back to school and learn to trade.
I guess they found out you could play, Red.
Yeah.
Listen, you've got to go and sign autographs. I've got to let you go. I really appreciate your being on, and it's an honor to meet you and talk to you. Thank you very much, Red Schoendienst.
Been fun.
Okay, we're back, and I hope you enjoyed those short interviews. I wanted to show you folks the latest baseball magazines that are out on the stands right now. This is Wilson Contreras, the Cubs catcher, and he's on the cover of the Athlon Baseball Annual and the Lindy Sports Baseball 2022 preview. has a Cub and a White Sox on there. The Cub is Ian Happ and Luis Robert, Robert, who some people who are all White Sox fans think that he might be an MVP in a few years. And we have some photographs here that Buzz was kind enough to bring along. And I'm going to hold them up so we can get a picture of them. And then maybe, Buzz, you can tell us exactly what's going on here. This is when you were with the Mets?
Yes.
And this is, I lined them up in order of your pitching motion.
Well, I didn't bring it. I just grabbed some stuff. You said you wanted to see them, but
Here,
it
let's
just
hold
shows,
it up like this. See?
They talk a lot about the guys with the Mets were called drop and drive kind of guys, where you see my right knee bends extremely low. And
is your knee supposed to touch
I used
the
to
ground?
wear it well, and I'm not trying to rate myself with those guys, but you look at pictures of Tom Seaver, Jerry Coachman, they all had the knee.
Yeah.
And I used to have to wear a basketball knee pad on my right knee because I'd hit it pretty hard on the ground.
Yeah.
So, I had to get down there good and low and give it everything I had. With my legs, I felt were very important. I would
Good follow through right here.
And of course, the follow through is important. I try to stress that to kids, and so there's a bent front leg there, and a lot of guys. I see a lot of guys pitch pretty stiff. These big 6'5", 250-pound guys, and I think it causes more shoulder problems. That's my opinion. I'm not a doctor, but anyhow. Well, look, I eventually my shoulder.
So you had a shoulder injury that called the end of your career, right?
Yeah, well, I came back and pitched one more season after that, not to a lot of avail. I didn't do that well that year. I was always in pain, and then I went to spring training in 78, and I got released, and rightfully so. I thought I pitched pretty well, but they knew my arm was kind of on the shelf, and they had some younger guys in the weeds. And that's the way it goes,
Well, when you were on the team with Hank Aaron, was he? Were you able to get close to him? Was he a good guy?
I sat and talked with Hank a number of times, and he was quiet. He was a pretty quiet guy. He wasn't one of these. If you take a Pete Rose, rah rah rah, and Hank Aaron, he was pretty quiet. He was a quiet leader. He did his leading on when he went to the plate, and
Rich
sat
was
back at a plane and played cards with the guys on the trips, and just a regular guy.
Rich was telling me that Hank Aaron has a place in his life too, because he's in the Hall of Fame because of Hank, right?
That's right. That's right.
How did that happen?
Well, they keep these lists of home runs for some of these Hall of Famers, and I was number 516 and number 521 in his book, on his list.
Two homers, huh?
Yeah.
Anybody on base?
Yeah, two on base and one of them, and the other one was I think left field in. One was in Wrigley Field, one was in Atlanta.
Well, that's quite a distinction.
Yes.
And Bob's got a photo too. You hold your photo.
Yeah,
this is show it to the camera over there, I guess.
The picture I'm going to that I took with Buzz at spring training back in the day. I want to let Buzz explain kind of what went on here, and this is one of actually Jim's old friends also.
Yeah, Hank Weiss. Hank Weiss was a owner of a restaurant in Berwyn, Illinois, and he and his wife went to every event imaginable. He did a lot with Morton College in Cicero, and he and his wife were real fans of any sport, and they were actually fans of any athletic team, any school athletic team.
Absolutely.
And a good guy.
A great guy.
And Buzz, I didn't know that you had a mustache and a goatee when you were coaching with the Phillies, right?
Trying to be cool.
Yeah,
I don't think there was a goatee. No goatee.
No goatee?
No goatee. Never had
that's
goatee.
a shadow.
The mustache there, yeah.
Are you going to present this to him?
Oh, yeah, I wanted to give that to you. Sure. Our topic a few shows ago was life after baseball. And Buzz, what was it like finishing up your major league career and then going back and thanks for a great career that you had. It was fantastic, like Richie's. What was it like going back and being a pitching coach in the minor leagues for the Phillies? Here you go, buddy. Thank you. Thanks for all you did.
Going back to coach, I don't need. You said you want an explanation about this. This was a spring training. I forget what year it was actually. And Hank Weiss was down there, and they were playing ball down there. Wasn't Morton College playing?
Yes.
And Bobby was there. We took a little time out to take a picture, so it was kind of nice seeing those guys. And so that was it. I forget what year would have that been, because I came over to Phillies in '88, so it had to be somewhere between 88 and 94.
Somewhere in there. Yeah, early 90s.
And you coached with the Mets too in Port St. Lucie, right?
And we played softball together too.
Yes, we did.
By the way,
yes, we did.
And they were our sponsor
Yes,
The,
absolutely.
Michael Anthony's.
Michael Anthony's.
Yeah.
And we'd go there.
And
after
they're
the
still going
games
strong
and
in Berwyn.
Have a few
Good
libations
pizza.
after our games, and so this is a nice photo here. Very nice.
So what was it like, Buzz, being down there,
Well-
being the pitching coach, helping all these young players?
Well, the first thing was you feel the things you did kind of naturally. I guess now suddenly you got to explain it to words and even be graphic and show it sometimes. And I'll be honest with you, I felt I coached almost 19 years. My last year was 2020. And I thought evaluating myself, I thought I was a lousy coach. I really did. I tried to be a tough guy and this and that. And I learned many times I didn't reinforce things enough with a positive note on certain things. I wanted everybody to kind of pitch sort of like the way I did. And that's wrong. You got to take each individual.
Good point.
And I learned you got to see what you can get out of a certain guy. And a certain guy throws a lot of changeups. Hey, you got to let him go if he can be successful. So in about 6 years, I thought my first 6 years, I really wasn't that good. So I felt I learned from the other coaches. And Johnny Sane was my last pitching coach when my last year
Spawn
with the
Sane in
Braves.
2 days of rain
Spawn
with the
Sane.
Braves.
And I don't know anybody in baseball that knew more about pitching and coaching pitchers than Johnny Sane. I got some tips from him. But the thing was, I learned from the players as well.
Sure.
You know, some guys you got to pat on the butt, other guys you got to yell at, and some guys you don't say anything to. And I kind of had to learn that, a little bit. And once I started to do that, I think I became a little bit better coach.
Yeah, that's a great explanation. I have a question quick for both of you guys. Rich and I talked about this, and I'd just like to know who is the best player, Buzz and Rich first. Who is the best player you ever played against up in the big leagues?
Well, I always say it was Willie Mays, without a doubt. I watched him as a kid growing up in San Francisco, go out to the games, and I saw him do amazing things defensively. I saw him do amazing things offensively with his bat. I saw him do amazing things on the base paths. In fact, the first time I pitched against him, he hit what I thought was going to be a strikeout pitch, high fastball with a 2-2 count. We're in spring training in Arizona. He hit it off the 430-foot sign on a line drive. It wasn't a home run because they had a big wall back there, and I saw how far it went, but I was watching him run the bases. I got behind third base to watch him run the bases. And typical of him, he would race to second, and when he hit second base, he starts backpedaling towards third, and I'm going, oh no, make the relay, because and I'd seen him do this, if they bobble the relay or hesitate at all, he spins going forward again and scores.
Not many players can do that.
I never saw anybody else
Unique.
even try doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Buzz, any ideas?
Well, I have to go, Rich, as far as Willie Mays. Maybe I didn't see him as many times as Rich there. I played against him because he came over to the Mets in 73. That was the year I was on the National League Championship team with Willie, and he had slowed down quite a bit at that point, and I think that was pretty well known. But yeah, a great player, could do all facets of the game. He was a 5-tool player. He hit with power, run, and field, and do all in great arm, all those things. But for me, as a pitcher with the game on the line, I don't want to face Pete Rose. Now, wow. Pete's got his story, of course, but the guy's tough. He's just a great competitor. I never seen a guy play the game as hard as he does. And the guy you don't try to strike Pete Rose out. You just try to get him out some way. You got to change speeds, pitch inside, outside. Funny story.
I have an interesting thing to show the viewing audience, and this is a good time for me to put it in there.
Yeah.
You're talking about Pete Rose. Somebody else had quite an experience with Pete Rose, and here it is.
Start out by asking our guest a trivia question. Who was the only pitcher that Pete Rose ever hit a Major League Grand Slam home run off of?
Well, I should know that one. That's in Trivia Pursuit right now. So Dallas Green's the answer, and Pete never has let me forget that either.
So there you have it, Dallas Green, who is looking down from above, and Pete Rose. It's a good trivia question. You trivia buffs out there in the audience, who's the only pitcher that Pete Rose ever hit a Grand Slam home run off of, and it's Dallas Green, who was a great pitcher and he was a general manager of the Cubs, a manager of a couple of different baseball teams. And I've got one more interesting little video to show you, and it involves our good friend Rich Nye, and we were talking about this a little earlier. Look at this.
Okay, we're back with the final segment of Bullpen Buddies, and Rich Nye has made his decision, but we're going to hold off just a minute or so, and we're going to let the Little Leaguers ask Rich Nye their own personal question. Contestant number 1, ask Rich a question.
What was your favorite pitch?
Strikeout.
He asked him what his favorite pitch was, and Rich said a strikeout. I think he means fastball or curve or so forth.
I know that. Actually, my favorite pitch was a changeup.
Ah. Why is that, Rich?
Well, you know, everybody in the big leagues can hit a fastball. You get the ball to move a little bit and you change speeds on it, that's where a lot of the success comes from. So not all of us have arms and bodies like Kerry or Nolan Ryan, and we have to come up with some different things, and I found one of my most successful pitches was a changeup, which just enough speed off that the batter would pop it up or hit a ground ball.
Very good. Okay, contestant number 2, Giovanni, ask Rich a question.
How does it feel to be a Major League Baseball player?
Good question.
I'd have to say it's kind of an exciting feeling because people look up to, like yourself, you look up to me and say, hey, this is really special, this guy's really something. But what you find out is all these Major League Baseball players or people that have played Major League Baseball, they're just regular average guys that got an opportunity to perform out on the field.
Very good. Contestant number 3, come on, ask Rich Nye a question.
How did it feel to play with Ernie Banks?
Well, I'll tell you what, if you've ever seen anything about Ernie Banks is the epitome of optimism. You know, the weather's great, let's play 2 today. I have to say, in many years of watching Ernie play baseball, I never saw him throw his bat, I never saw him swear, I never saw him get angry. He just went out and did a great job every day and just kept everybody up and going. I'd say it was great. Great experience.
Very good question, good answer. Let me ask you one question. You know, we hear a lot of Little Leaguers saying, I want to throw a curveball. I have my own opinion about that. What do you think about Little Leaguers learning to throw curveballs? What do you think they should do when they're learning?
Well, I think the biggest problem with Little Leaguers learning a curveball is their bodies aren't done growing. And what they start doing is they start putting stresses on joints and tendons and ligaments that may get injured at an age of 10, 11, 12 and not really fully recover. I've had a lot of friends injure themselves when they were youngsters and they couldn't throw when they were older.
Yeah.
If you would throw fastballs and changeups and work on the mechanics of the pitching motion, as you get stronger, then the curveballs and the sliders and all the other pitches can come along with it.
Very good answer.
So that was a surprise for you. You probably remember that Bullpen Buddies episode in Berwyn, right?
Yes.
And the clock on the wall says we're getting short on time, so I'm going to ask our guests here if they've got any parting shots. Let's start with Bob.
For me, it was a real treat seeing my old friend Buzz again. Always the best. Thanks, Buzz, for coming on and helping us out. And thanks for your great career in baseball, as Rich also. Thank you.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Time for Buzz to give us a parting shot.
Well, I just say about my career as far as, you know, great moments and stuff like that. I think probably being selected to the National League 74 National League All-Star team was a great thrill for me to be in the same photo op with those guys, all those great players that were on that team. And then lastly, I just like to part, you know, I'm doing a lot of work with young kids today. I said, you need kids, I just say, look, don't give up on your dreams. Some people might come along and say, you're too this, you're too that. Everybody thought I was too small. I couldn't make it, but it made me play that much harder. So I say, you know, play hard, realize, you know, that dream, don't give up. That's the thing I would say. You're going to have some failures, you're going to have some successes, but that's part of life. And baseball teaches you how to accept those different things, and I should say necessarily accept it. You don't want to have bad days out there, but you got to learn how to live with those and overcome those. So any young baseball players out there, you play hard and you continue realizing that dream that you have if you want to become a professional baseball player.
Very sage advice, Buzz. I want to thank you very much for coming on our show.
My pleasure again.
You gave us that dynamic, a little oomph, you know. And Rich, you have your last chance to give the folks out there a parting shot.
Well, I like to tell kids that baseball is just a fabulous sport because it gives you an opportunity to get up again. You know, we try a lot in our life, and how many times are we actually winners in anything? A lot of times we lose, and then we go hang our head. thing about baseball is you can go 0 for 3, but when you start that fourth at bat, it's just the slate is clean. You get to start all over again. And that's the thing about baseball. You know, you go out and have a bad game, it's still a fabulous game because it gives you an opportunity to go back up again and do it again.
And now that the C collective bargaining agreement has been signed and baseball is really back, all you baseball fans can celebrate. Go out to see your White Sox and your Cubs in the Chicago area. And I want to thank my partners here, Bob Considine and Rich Nye, and especially Buzz Capra for being on our show today. We'll see you next time. I'm Jim Kapsa. Have a happy day.